Have you ever wondered how to hold a guitar pick? Or which one you should use? Or even if you should use one at all? Well, in this video, I want to share some insider tips for answers to these questions. So let's get started right away with how to hold a guitar pick. Now, if you're using a standard flat pick, which just looks like a teardrop here, I recommend holding it between your thumb and your index finger. So what you do is you curl your index finger around like this, and you place the pick on, pointing towards you, and then you put your thumb over the top and just grip it with those two fingers. Now the thumb and index is best, however, there are players that have broken this rule. For example, Eddie Van Halen actually held the pick between his thumb and his middle finger, and this let him be able to keep that index finger free, so as he was playing, he could immediately go to fret tapping, which was a key technique that he used in his playing style. Now, I don't recommend doing what I call group hugging the pick. Now, this is a term I came up with when I saw students, instead of holding it between two fingers, taking multiple fingers and they're holding it like this, and they can strum and pick notes, but what happens is they end up being super limited, because later you might want to bring in those other fingers, like if you learn some finger style playing where you play without a pick, and then you want to try and combine them, like so there I'm playing with a pick, but then I'm also using my fingers. Now, if you do the group hug technique, then you could only play this instead of, adding in all these other notes, right? So don't group hug the pick, just keep it between two. The other thing you want to do is you want to keep the grip relaxed. You want to keep it light. A lot of players death grip the pick and they're playing with way too much tension. You want to hold it just enough to where it's like it's almost about to fall out of your hand, but just enough to keep it there. And that's going to help reduce fatigue when you're playing and also improve your sound for lead and rhythm. Now, you may be wondering, what's the best pick for beginners? Well, picks generally come in three different thicknesses. You have a thin, a medium, and a heavy. Now, these sometimes could be written in millimeters, which is just how many millimeters thick the pick is. So a thin is going to have a lot more flexibility to it. It's also going to sound a little flappier. It's going to be okay for strumming, not so good for playing lead guitar. Then a medium is the step up from there. Then the heavy is a real beefy pick. So if you're just getting started, I recommend going with a Fender medium. This is going to be a great all-around pick. It's going to be good for strumming. It's going to be good for playing lead and licks and fills and soloing. So that's going to set you up. And then over time, you can experiment with different picks. You'll find that you change over time. I've played a lot of different picks over the years. But once you develop your playing, you can adjust. And we tend to just go with what we've played a lot of. For example, when I first started, I played one pick for a while and then that felt really comfortable. Then I switched to another one and it actually felt uncomfortable, but I worked through it and then I got used to that. Then when I tried the old one again, it felt awkward. And so it's gonna change over time, but again, the Fender Medium is a great place to start. Now, there's also a lot of different types of materials picks are made out of. For example, you could have a nylon pick. You could have one, I believe it's called celluloid. You could even use what legendary guitarist from Queen used, Brian May. He used a 6-pence coin. So choosing the right pick is a journey, and you may end up changing over time as your style evolves. There are also a lot of different shapes and sizes of picks, but again, just go with the standard Fender medium. There are like little teardrop picks like this. There are also like giant, I've seen these giant like pizza shaped picks. Don't mess around with any of that stuff. Just keep it simple. Don't do anything too extreme. Then from there, you can also think about your pick angle. Now, this has a big impact on the sound. So how you angle the pick against the strings. If I strum and turn the pick just to the side a little bit, you get a glassier sound. Now if I strum straight on, see that it has a lot more direct sound to it. And so this is why there's so many nuances with the guitar, like just how you turn your pick, just wherever you're angling against the strings can completely change your tone. Another cool thing is you don't have to play with the pointed side, right? You can turn it around, like if you listen to this. That's the pointed side. Now listen to this. It's a little warmer sounding. And you could use this in your playing if you wanted to get almost like what sounds like playing with your thumb, like Wes Montgomery. Kind of a jazzier sound. You can play, if you hear that with the pointed side of the pick, it's a little just, bright. Turn it around. And it's sort of in between those two. It's like using a flat pick, but close to the thumb sound. So before we wrap up, here's a few common mistakes players make when they try to figure out how to hold a guitar pick. The first thing they do is they just grip it too tightly, which just causes stiffness and tension in their playing. The other mistake they make is they hold the pick too far back. So what happens is you have less control this way, or they might do the opposite and sort of choke up on the pick, and what they're doing is kind of nicking their fingers as they play. So you have to find that balance of control and tone. Now, if you're dropping the pick a lot, guess what? You're normal. This is part of the journey. There are different types of picks that have, like rougher texture on them that can help with the grip. Years ago, I used to play with this pick that actually had a hole in it, and as I gripped it, I could feel like my skin through the pick, and that helped me hold on to the pick. The other thing to consider is that you don't actually have to play with a pick at all. You can use your fingers, and that's an incredible way to play as well. And lastly, don't overthink it. Just get a pick and start practicing. So to recap, make sure you're holding your pick between your thumb and your index finger. Don't grip it too tight, and start with a Fender medium. Those are my recommendations. So keep practicing, and if you want to learn songs faster and understand the fretboard for rhythm and lead, then go to johnmclennan.com/fretboard guide and get your hands on my free fretboard guide PDF. This is going to show you 5 chords and 5 scales that unlock the neck. It's going to be one of the most useful PDFs you've ever seen for understanding the fretboard, and I put it all on one page, and it's completely for free. Just go to johnmclennan.com/fretboard guide and grab that now as my gift to you. As always, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you might like this one next.